So the diocesan creation care policy, and Ellie touched on this a minute ago, I'm going to have a go at bringing up a quick screen share. This is all new to me, so you just have to bear with me, but we'll see what happens. And I'm going to lose you at this point, I think, visibly. Is that there?
No.
No, but you could always ask the whale.
Lovely picture of you.
A lovely picture of me. Let's see if we can do that again. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Great. So this is our diocesan branding of what it is we're trying to achieve. These are our 3 strap lines that sit under creation care: to cherish creation, cut carbon, and speak up. And the whole focus here was to try and simplify and be clear about our purposes and what it is we're trying to do. And by cherish creation, we mean to take specific care of that piece of creation that is immediately before us on a daily basis, whether that is your churchyard and a specific bee variety and beautiful flowers, or extraordinary biodiversity in a wildflower meadow, your garden, your workplace, a school, wherever it might be. The call to cherish creation is to run through all that is before us. And that might sound slightly overwhelming, but it does present some opportunities for us, particularly where we are engaged with churches, because with Cherish Creation, there are partnerships available, and there is a long-established partnership with Cornwall Wildlife Trust, who have signboards at children's level and path markers and ways of making our churchyards more engaging, but also of expressing why the churchyard might look less kept. Because as soon as we deadhead everything and smarten everything, we reduce the viability of the churchyard to feed nature that lives there. So a great avenue in Cherish Creation is to look at partnerships, and certainly working with Cornwall Wildlife Trust is a great way forward. Cutting carbon means that we are completely committed to achieving net zero by 2030 as a diocese. This is a pretty tall order. It is not a simple challenge, and we are presently negotiating all of the avenues that we're going to have to pursue to make this a reality. But I will say, having sat in countless meetings with our bishops in regard to this and others, it is right at the top of our diocesan agenda. It's not something that we will shy away from, but it is something, again, that we will be better doing together. And it's here that tools like the energy footprint tool, the EFT, which we submit as part of our parish returns, becomes such an important tool for monitoring our progress and also for establishing national benchmarks. And speak up. We are saying that as a church, we need to be vocal and to be heard and to take action in speaking up for and on behalf of creation. When G7 was in town, it was an extraordinary focus on where we live and how we live. And I believe has presented a platform where Cornwall, as a pioneering place, has an opportunity to continue that pioneering heritage and lead the way in speaking up and taking action. There are many petitions that can be signed up to for cleaner seas, for cleaner air, for methods of farming, for all sorts of different ways. But we also need to speak directly to those in authority and speak as the church united together and say, actually, we believe that this earth, our home, God's creation, is worth our efforts to ensure that it is sustainably managed going forward. So we have these 3 things: cherish creation, cut carbon, and speak up. I'm going to come off that screen share for a moment there. I might just have lost you all forever at this point. Let's do that, and hopefully you're all going to reappear. Hello, good, we're back. That just about worked. So that's kind of the outline of the strategy. What we will ensure again is that in the news sheet, so each time we have a gathering, we will follow the gathering with a newsletter, which will come with any of the items we discuss, any links to websites that we talk about, and any resources that are available, so that on a monthly basis, there will be a stream of information and avenues to hopefully help resource you. So we'll make sure we include the creation care policy within that. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on in this piece really was about just a very light touch on the accessible theology, on why creation care and where does it sit in the Bible? Does it sit in the Bible? Does the Bible have anything to say about this? To which the answer is a resounding, joyful yes. For me personally, one of my kind of foundational texts is that point in the creation story right at the beginning, where it says, and he pulled from the dust of the ground and he breathed into the nostrils the breath of life. And I find that a picture that I come back to and reflect on again and again and again. Because before God breathes into man the breath of life, and I say man and woman, before he breathes that in there, he's already breathed it into all of creation. It's the very same breath that is breathed into the sea and the land and the stars and the animals as he speaks everything to life. And for me, it's the uniting factor that says we are one and together with all of creation. We're not separate and apart from. We are actually siblings, brothers and sisters with creation. And when we start to see all that is around us in that light, I will draw on Mike North's lovely phrase about actually opening our eyes and seeing heaven in the here and now. I believe that actually we see that when we see creation as an intricate and intimate part of who we are and how we are. And to separate the two, actually, I think causes us pain. It's a separation in us that isn't meant to be there. So I love that sense from Genesis, right from the beginning, that we share the same breath of God with all of creation. But then I also love the songs of praise from somewhere like Psalm 148, where there is a roll call of all creation pouring out praise to God. And within Psalm 148, there's also this wonderful, I'm just going to see if I can find it for myself, because I know I've got it here somewhere. Bear with me just a moment. No, that's not going to work. But there's this roll call of praise, but there's also the language of God who's saying, and he called all these things into being. He made a promise that they will last. And there's this lovely sense of created order for me again, that God is at the beginning and the end of it, written right through the center of it. And then one of the most challenging verses I come up again time and time again as I talk to people like the Young Christians Climate Network, YCCN, who were the student and young people's group who organised the relay from G7 to COP26, an extraordinary, powerful statement travelling our country, was the passage from James 5, where it talks about the broken practices, the corrupt uses of wealth, that they stand in evidence against us as we hoard, that we haven't paid the wages we shouldn't have done, that we haven't looked with careful and Jesus's eyes on those who actually are at the end of the line, who don't get paid, who do get abused because of our loose attitudes to creation care. And I find that a hugely challenging and difficult verse to read, but I also recognize I have to put my hand up and say, yes, yeah, that's right, actually, I have been there, and I haven't paid attention to that. And it reminds me that we are called constantly to look at the whole line of our life and the whole picture of our life lived, and worship and work and family and congregation and the whole lot, and try to understand better, where is creation in the middle of all of that? Where is Jesus at work in the middle of all of that? And who is the hidden person? Where are the hidden people who are paying the price, or the hidden elements where our actions lead to a degenerative effect on biodiversity, or a negative effect on creation care? So I will make sure there are some notes and just some pointers there. I will point you also towards the Creation Justice Toolkit that a group of us drew together in September last year, or throughout G7 and into September and for COP26. And we'll make sure that's included as a link that you can look at, where there are worship resources, reading resources, speaking resources about creation care. We are just going to pause there and go into, we're obviously running over slightly. We thought we might do coffee at 10:45. I suspect we're going to do coffee just after 11, and we'll recoup our time on the other side. But we're just going to break into a couple of groups. Well, in fact, I think, Rosie, are we going to look at 4 maybe?
Yeah, we are. I'm just having a look, and for some reason, my breakout room tab has gone. Oh, here we go.
We can just do this. Have you got it?
I've got it. Okay,
Amazing.
we'll go for 3 groups. Okay, so let's take a minute or 2. So don't worry, and we'll come back. Okay.
Just gonna say, so we're going to just ask the question between us. There'll be a facilitator in each group, and if you are a member of the CCG, please do step up in that space and facilitate. That would be incredibly helpful. And the question we're asking is, what do you hope for from this morning, or from this network in general? This is our first outing together, and we're going to do this more and more going forward. But what do you hope for from this network? And we're just going to spend probably 8 or so minutes discussing that, and then come back and share those so that we can capture it, and then we will go and have coffee. So Rosie's going to separate us out as she can. Bless you guys.
We're coming on. Won't be a minute. Oh no, how did that happen?
You doing okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
You're doing a great job.
We've got the Zoom extended to 12:15, if that's any help.
Well done. Everybody's coming back in. Wonderful. Before you have a leg stretch, we'll try and run this through in 2 minutes as fast as we can. But would you like to throw anything in from the groups that you've just been in? Would someone like to say what were the themes that were coming up? Joff, jump on in.
Yeah, so we had three things that came up. It's saying the first one was we have the interest, but we don't have the know-how, experience, or contacts. We hope we can come together and support each other in helping us get on the first steps. Was the first bit that came up. And again, having contacts to ask for advice seems to be a really, really important part to come up. And then the final thing, raise awareness and get others interested in the environment. So help get other church members, congregations involved, and also help the church appeal to youngsters through our care for the environment. Yeah.
Thank you. Great. What another group? I'm not sure who was leading what.
So we didn't have a leader. We were leaderless.
Apologies, that was my fault. I'm sorry. It's the first time I've done breakout rooms.
But I think basically my feeling is that I would like some help, and who do I go to for help?
Fabulous. Well, you probably come to me. And
also very expensive. How are we going to become carbon neutral when we've got no money?
Okay. That's a great question. Thank you. We will note that, and that might be a separate maybe network meeting discussion. That would be a good one to look at. Thank you. Christine, hi.
Hi, I think in our group, Kirsten very, very neatly summarized it as looking for information, support, and companionship. So we talked about potential to share ideas, advice, and useful contacts across people in the network, getting support with working with the various award schemes, and also about the hope that further more localized networks could grow from this, who might have local in-person meetings as well as the opportunity of gatherings of people who work in similar contexts. For example, very small rural churches without facilities and others to really share experiences. And examples of things that people are looking into at the moment, bats in churches, future heating options, linking in with pilgrimage and engagement with schools and families.
Fabulous. Thank you. That's great. And Ellie, is that a hand up to feedback?
Just not to feedback, sorry, just a very quick one about something that I think it was Helen said about the costs involved in moves towards net zero. The church, both nationally and in the diocese, is not deaf to that. And I know that the church nationally is putting some thought into how they can support churches, dioceses and churches, with fundraising. And we're not talking about having a couple of coffee mornings here, because this is much bigger money than this. And I'm hopeful that we may be able to, it won't happen quickly, but in due course, we will be able to have some fairly targeted help for people in terms of applying for grants and that kind of thing. So that's on people's radar, that one, because we know it's expensive.
Thank you. Did we have one other group to feedback?
No, we just did three in the end.
In which case, can I just suggest, otherwise this will push back forever, take 10 minutes. Let's aim for sort of 1:15-ish. Stretch your legs, get yourself a cup of tea or coffee. We will still be here. So if you want to hang out here and just ask questions and chat, also really welcome. But do stretch your legs, get the blood moving around your body.
Ben, can I ask you a
Yes.
question?
Please do.
It may not, so can I ask you, if you want to take it in form, is this still running? Or do I?
No.
No, thank you.
It's not so much. I think we would still receive applicants from it, but because of the nature of the Arosha Awards, and I will touch on this in the session afterwards, but because of the nature of those, any work you do towards the original awards is work for Arosha in effect, because it does actually cover it across the different segments. But what we've tried to do, because Cornwall had that scheme, we hadn't got engaged with Arosha at all.
Yeah, I understand.
So we've just tried to refine it a bit.
Thing is, one of the things I have done, and COVID, I was instructed against my better judgment and against my will, and I think against the interests of the Church of England generally, but that's another matter, to close my church and to take away from my church any bit of paper, because there's something like this somebody might pick up and they would die. I can't believe that, but anyway, it's not. We know it's not true. So basically, I have a big display which I've just remounted, which is based on this material. So where am I going to get my new material from? Right. Now, does that exist in hard copy? Now, can I just explain that some of us do not have printers that do colour, and it's a nightmare if you say it's all online. Well, that's fine, but I need things on my notice board. So where am I going to get stuff? You're going to tell me this in the
I'm
next.
perfectly happy to resource where you need materials. I'm sure we can print and send them. So I have these produced for when I go and speak in churches, so that we have physical copies. I haven't printed these myself, so I can send you some of these. But we could also do some bigger ones. So yes, we will resource you in this.
And I would be very happy, because I think I mentioned I sing in the cathedral, and I'm there every Wednesday. If Canon Ellie was able to leave me an envelope somewhere, or you could say postage, but I would really like some A3 and some leaflets to put out. I really would. That would help me personally hugely, and I don't think I'm alone, because we can't all do these things.
No, that's fine. So we very much the work of the CCG, the Creation Care Group, who I work within, is to resource and support the wider diocese and parish churches to make sure we have to put stuff in place. So we can do that.
I'll email you about this after the meeting, so you don't have to remember what I've just babbled at you. Okay, I'll email about resources.
Okay. But initially,
I just came in halfway through that. Sorry, Ben. I just came in halfway through that and heard my name being mentioned.
No, I'm just saying that Ben said he can give me or send me resources for notice boards, and I was just saying if a package could be put together, it could be left in the cathedral, because I'm a St Mary's Singers person.
Yeah.
Which is how I'm involved. I got through Mard Selwood, Mard and Rob. Right. Well, that's that's the way it all comes about.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we can meet up anytime, and I can give you stuff. So that's all doable.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Right. I must go and have my very quick bathroom break. I shall return. can do on hold music if you want. I can kind of go for a
Ben.
Hello, Corey.
I missed quite a bit at the beginning. Is that just briefly what's the baseline?
We were doing, just at the beginning, it was pretty much what you came into. So it was introductions, who we are, kind of what we hope for, what does creation care mean to us. So the section we're going into now is looking at the award structure and things.
Yeah, I feel sure that Etienne would have mentioned the living churchyard at Leland.
It was mentioned.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So I bragged with it.
Don't drop there now.
I brag with it. I'm listening to what you're saying.
I am being polite, Etienne.
I know. I'm watching you.
Hang on a second. Is this omniscience or omnipotence? I can't remember.
No. I don't know why she's saying that. I mean, she's responsible for herself. No. It is wonderful, what we can do. So it's just, I think a lot of a big part of the problem for us to care for environments is just people not being aware, and then they might be aware but not taking action. And at least we can try to do something as churches.
We have a lovely living churchyard at Ilagan, actually.
Oh yeah,
it's quite big and it's very much. I think the community appreciates it. They certainly do. Lots of people wander around it.
So Ben, we would have support from the Cornwall Council as well. I'm not saying necessarily financial, but in other ways, hopefully. And how do they tune in on creation care?
Actually, Ellie, myself, Bishop Hugh are meeting with the Cornwall Council leads regularly at the moment in regard to creation care, and we're establishing some partnerships together on where we can share advice and share support. So that's just shaping up. But actually, I have to say Cornwall Council have some really great forward thinking on this, and actually have set their entire policy now is being set on a wheel of thinking where creation, environment needs to be central too. So yes, that is, we are finding those avenues. Christine, your hand was in the air.
Yeah, just on that, we've actually had some very positive interactions with Melissa Valve, who works with Cornwall Council. Whose background is in landscape architecture, but works with an environmental portfolio for the council. And she's given us some great advice when we were getting our living churchyard project back going, and has donated wildflower seeds that came from an EU funded project. So there's definitely people there who you can get on board and who are happy to share expertise.
If you plant those European funded wildflower seeds, does that make that little bit of ground Europe? Or does it then have different legislation over it?
I just spread Europeanness over our churchyard all the time anyway, Ben.
Yeah, you could say if a church has a South African priest, does it make them South African?
Yeah, there we are.
No, it doesn't.
Right. I think we are almost back together. We are. So this second part, we want to walk through the Cornwall Green Church Award. No, Kernel Green Church Award. Get my head working. Now, we were aware this has caused some confusion because it was called the Green Church Kernel Award, and it is now the Kernel Green Church Award. Now, the simple basis for that was there was no budget, so we just needed to do something very simple. But what we were trying to do was create a singular award rather than a multi-tiered award, because that's what's already there in a Russia Eco Church. And just to be clear,
is it the same as the Eco Russia thing? Is it the same as the Eco Church Award?
So our award is a pathway into a Russia Eco Church. Ours is just ours is a very simple exercise designed to really help set in the church's DNA the business of creation care. So let me just, I'm going to screen share and bring it up, and then I can talk through that, and then we can do some questions and stuff on the back of that, if that's okay with you. Let me just go and see if I can make this work again. That's already there. Yeah, content. Do that. So the basis of the Kernel Green Church Award is all about getting us into a pathway with a Russia Eco Church. Because of the previous incarnation of the award, where we had our own internal sort of bronze, silver and gold awards, we had sat more distantly from a Russia. A few churches had registered themselves just as a next step on from the original award, but it just left us a bit at arm's length, to the extent that we were actually the last diocese to sign up for Eco Diocese. And given that this is very much the national benchmark now being used right across the Church of England and Wales, it just felt that now was the moment. If we were going to make change, we should be stepping into the Russia scheme of things as well. It also means that our accreditation is external. And I'm a great believer that wherever possible, it is great to have rigorous external accreditation for anything that has an award attached to it. Because many times in the church's history, what we've done is set things up and then given a piece of paper and said, well done, you've achieved this. But actually it didn't have the strength to stand in its own right on a national basis. So that's part of the rationale. Also, the original award needed a lot of updating and re-resourcing. And our feeling as a missional diocese and as people who are missional in our thinking was to be working in partnership with a Russia actually meant that we help finance and resource their work, which resources our work. And that felt like a more complete and fruitful and sustainable way of working. So let me just say a little bit about the Kernel Green Church Award. There's really only 4 things that you're actually asked to do. And this is what I mean about writing it into the DNA of the PCC. So it's passing a PCC resolution to adopt a parish creation care policy. We've written an outline parish creation care policy, which when you register through the diocesan website, these documents are sent to you so that you can access them. We do it that way around so that we have some understanding of who's registering to then be able to be in contact with and encourage. It's not a big brother is watching you diocesan thing. It's very much, we want to know who's involved so that we can actually be there alongside you and phone up and say, you know, how are you getting on? Or even phone up and say, can I come and speak at your church? Which I love to do. So we're looking for the adoption of a resolution to adopt a creation care policy, that it becomes a permanent part of a PCC agenda, in much the same way that safeguarding sits on top of our PCC agendas now, rightly and absolutely as it should. We believe that creation care is as important as safeguarding. It is actually safeguarding our home and our future. I see them as united things. So we would ask that that happens. Then part of it is doing the annual carbon footprint. We, as a diocese, came second in the whole country on this year. The year before we came 4th, and we have one of the highest return rates in the country. But until we have nationally somewhere around 80% of parish churches responding, the benchmark data is effectively flawed because we don't have a big enough percentage of parishes returning. So we, I think, managed high, just under 60% return rate this year, actually, which was fantastic. I think it was 59. But that very much needs to be a part of each church's response, is to ensure that the annual carbon footprint return is done. A Creation Sunday service or a Creation Tide event. We'd love to see more of those happening, where the church's life of worship and praise together also centers on creation. So those sit under this PCC resolution. The second thing to do is to appoint a creation care champion. Now, I'm aware some of you are here today potentially in that role, and some of you might be wondering if that's for you. What I'd very much like to say is you don't have to do this on your own. You could be a team of champions working across a benefice. You could be a team of champions working within a single parish church. If there is the desire and other people would like to get involved, please draw them in and invite them to these Creation Care Network gatherings. But the point of the gatherings is to help feed and encourage Creation Care champions to be able to work within their given setting, their parish or their benefice. But we'd like to see those appointed and supported by and reporting to the PCC. We believe it needs to be at that level of significance that the church is very aware that this is part of our roles and responsibilities within daily life. Then we say register with a Rocha Eco Church. You may have come in on this partway through your coffee break, but for an eco diocese to achieve the Bronze Award, we need to have 10% of parish churches registered, not completed, not necessarily submitted, but registered with a Rocha Eco Church. So if you are sitting here today and thinking, right, what can I do immediately that would help? Register with Eco Church. That would be fabulous. And in a minute, I'm going to show a video that shows you how to do that. It's a 4-minute film, and it will explain how each one of us can do that. And then after that, we encourage you to carry out the initial environmental audit. And what that will show you is what you can already hit, what is already there and achievable, and what items need to be worked on to achieve certain levels of award. What I'll just say very briefly in response to that, because it came up as a question earlier on about, what if you don't have water? What if you don't have services, etc.? Within Eco Church, if you can't achieve something because it's either an irrelevancy, i.e. you don't have a water supply or you don't have an electricity supply to change to a greener tariff, then you miss it. If it can't be applied, then you write into the award part there, we can't do this for the following reasons, because it's a permanent scenario. Not having water in the church is a permanent scenario. And then you basically you bypass that piece. But that must be on the basis that it is utterly impossible to achieve it. So if it comes to something like lighting, and the request is to move the church's lighting over to LED lighting, well, that might cost money, but all churches who have power can do that. So that would be one that would be achievable, rather than we don't have power coming to the building, so actually we can't speak to anything to do with power. I hope that kind of makes sense. Within the audit, there are 5 key areas, which we will see when we get to the video in a minute, but they speak around the life of the church, worship, the buildings of the church, and other things. So it's actually separated down into key areas. So that is really, in a nutshell, the simplicity of the Kernel Green Church Award. It's actually trying to write it into the PCC's DNA, the church's DNA, and ensuring that there is somebody or a team of people appointed to help enable this work within the parish or the benefice, and register with a Rocha Eco Church. Now, if you're here wondering, do I actually want to be a Creation Care champion? This is just a slide that I use to encourage focus as to why it might be that this is speaking to you or calling to you. And having listened to your stories this morning and your sense of why Creation Care matters, all of you have very eloquently expressed a very central and important part of your lives attached to Creation Care. And that's hugely encouraging for me to hear. So thank you, it makes it all worthwhile. But if you know other people who need encouragement, or you think, gosh, they'd be great in this role, I'm really happy to talk to people on a one-to-one basis, or however is helpful, just to sound out things, ideas and thoughts about, does this work? How do we make this work? But it would be great to think that over the course of this next year, we might really grow this network and see representation eventually of all of our 213 parishes across the diocese, whether that's as individual churches or benefices. I suspect the latter more likely, but it would be fantastic to think that we can gather this creation care network and then celebrate when we have annual events like the awards ceremonies and services, which will take place in the cathedral in October this year, but also looking to things like where we might meet and have a lunch outside together and do some of this collegiate support and listening to one another and hearing each other's stories. I'm going to come out of this, if I can remember how to. Okay. Okay. Right, am I back to normal?
Yeah.
Well, as normal as I ever am. I do fully recognise that. That's kind of an outline of where we are with the Kernel Green Church Award. At this point, would it be helpful for you to discuss that, or would you like to see the video about how to register with a Rocha Eco Church?
That's on.
Pardon? See you, Joff. Take care. Do you want to see the video, or would you like to discuss Kernel Green Church Award? Sorry.
The video will be good.
Right, let's go there. Perfect. Let me see if I can draw this one. So I'm going to come. Give me 2 minutes. That one. Right, can you see that?
Yep. Yes.
Great. The next thing is going to be whether we can hear it, but here it comes.
Hello, welcome to Eco Church. In this video, we're going to run through how to sign up, how to register your church, and how to get started with the survey. Now on the front page, there's a big sign up button here, or if you find yourself on the login screen, there's a link down here that you can use. Now we need your name and an email address. Your password needs to be at least 8 characters long and a mixture of uppercase, lowercase letters and numbers. I'll put something in that meets those requirements, and then I'll repeat it to make sure I've got it right. Now the system's going to send us an email just to check that we do own that email address. An email here has just arrived, and it's given me a code. So I can either type that in, or slightly easier to copy and paste. Now it's asking for our address. You don't need to give us your address, but it's really helpful when it comes to posting out things like award certificates later on. And we have the option of signing up to some email communications. We'd strongly suggest Eco Church Connect. It's full of inspiration and ideas to help your church along the Eco Church journey. But you might want to hear other things from Rocha UK too, and you have the option of choosing them here. Lastly, where did we find out about it? I found out through Rocha UK. And on we go. And there we go. We are signed up now for Eco Church. This is the dashboard. This is where we usually start once we log in. Now at the moment, there's not so much we can do because we're not actually signed up to a church yet. So let's do something about that. Click the button up here. And we need to find where our church is. Now, my church is on Avenue Road in Southall. So here we go. Underneath the map, it's going to give me a list of other churches that I might have met, churches that are near this place. So had I really meant St John's Church in Southall, then I could simply join the church using this button. Actually, I want to register a new one. So I'm just going to move this marker until it's on top of where the church meets, which happens to be in the Rocha UK office. Come down here and register. Now these details don't look quite right, so I'll come in and edit them. My fictional church is Avenue Road Community Church. And I'll stick in the postcode as well. There we go, this looks better. So I'm going to hit confirm. A few details. What denomination are we? If we were in the Church of England, it would also ask for our diocese. We're a small independent church, and we're very small, there's only 12 of us. We're right in the heart of Southall, that's definitely urban, and we meet in our own building. It was built in about 1930. Our building's not listed, but obviously many churches are. And there we go, we've registered our church. At the moment, I'm the only person on the team for Avenue Road Community Church. But if I wanted to, I could invite other people to sign up for Eco Church themselves, to find that church in the list and to join it. And then we could work on our Eco Church program together. To get going on the survey, all you do is come down here to the survey button, start new, choose which version of the survey. At the moment, the only version open to us is version 2. Give it a name. Off we go. You're up and running, ready to see how your church is doing. Good luck.
Okay, could everyone hear that approximately?
Yeah, no.
Right. Julia, hi.
Can I ask an idiot question, please?
Yes.
Does each Creation Care champion register separately? So if, say, there's half a dozen Creation Care champions in Ludford Church, do we each register?
Ideally, one of you would register as the lead, and then you can invite through the dashboard others to be a part of the group so that all of you can look at it. Because if you all register, you'll end up with multiple registrations on the same one, which, thinking about it now, if we just quickly did 21 of those, we'd have 10% of our parishes signed up and that would be fine. But now, in an ideal world, I think if one of you registers and then invites others, you end up, and so you register first, join yourself to your church and then invite others. And that way around, you can actually share the work around the award together.
Is that easy to do? That if we get to that stage, or when we get to that stage, which will happen in the next week or two, if I have difficulties with the sharing thing, who should I contact to help me through that?
Certainly. So Arosha are very responsive. It normally takes about 48 hours to get a response, but they're very good at responding. So if you have any particular technical details, because I don't drive that website, I don't have the same technical insight to it. But when I get stuck, I email them and they come back to me and say, do this. And they've been incredibly helpful like that. There is actually immediately on the Arosha site, that video we've just watched is under frequently asked questions, just as how do I register? But under the resources part of their website, there are a huge raft of resources, one on how to use the site, but also on things like teaching, preaching, working in community, drawing in others. So there's lots of resource there. And then centrally, the Church of England do webinars every quarter on things like how to get started with Eco Church, or from registration to bronze award, from bronze award to silver award. And they do very specific webinars, which any one of us can sign up to. Rosie, can we make sure we do the webinar link for thank you, into the newsletter? And you can all sign up to those and they're free, and they will give you good guidance through that as well. Okay, so from what you've just seen, Maggie, hi, how can we help? Sorry, Maggie, I'm going to have to ask you to unmute if that's okay.
Arosha, I mean,
yes.
what is it? Well, I mean, can you just go backwards? I mean, you obviously, all of you are in the know. I have no idea. I've never heard of it before.
Okay.
And so I have some background. And who is taking part? Is it Church of England or is it everybody? Sorry, I may have missed something.
No, thank you. So Arosha are effectively a non-denominational organisation, but it's a faith response to the environment. And they've run for many years and launched the Eco Church Award, I think initially, possibly 9 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago now. And they have multiple projects around the world, supporting communities, looking at replanting, looking at environmental projects that make differences to vulnerable communities. They have a huge educational arm, which is effectively what Eco Church sits under. But it is a faith-driven organisation.
Interdenominational?
Well, I would probably go, they are interdenominational, as I suppose the phrase is parachurch. They are not any particular church denomination, but they work with all. So yes, interdenominational, let's go with that. But what they have done is fine-tuned their offering so that we, as an Anglican, we have something called Eco Diocese, which we can sign up to. For Methodists, there's Eco District, and there are separate, whilst it's the same product, there's separate recognition for, I think, Baptist, Methodist, Anglican, and Independent. It may even be wider than that now, not wanting to shoot myself in the foot there. But yes, so it works right across the board, and it has become very much the benchmark, to the extent actually that we, as the Anglican Church nationally, are looking at how to further tie up what we supply is, as parish returns every year, so that it feeds information for both our national statistics and Eco Church, because it is seen. So net zero will become, I'm sure, a part of how Eco Church work, and also through our diocese and other districts as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, given that I said I don't know everything, if anybody else has better info than that, or a better knowledge of Arosha, please do speak up and feel free to share it. Jonathan.
Only just to say, Arosha, I think it's Portuguese, which means the rock. I think that's where the title's from.
Yeah, that's nice.
I love it. When I was a younger man, we took a church called St. Peter's and renamed it The Rock, and converted it into a charity that worked with young people excluded from education and drug rehab and gang-related crime and all sorts. And so I have a lot of affinity with The Rock. There we go. So that's kind of your first intros to that. What we'll also do is I'm just going to jump onto the diocesan website so that you can see where. Do you want to do that from there, Rosie, or shall I do it from here?
I don't mind. You carry on.
Let's give it a go. Let's see if I can make this work again. You know, it's the third time I'm pressing my share content button. It's got to be getting better in some form. Right, so I'm just going to draw us in to the diocesan website and just walk through where the various registration points are. So this is the front page, I'm sure you'll recognise, of our diocesan website. Can I, just by way of encouragement of quite how committed Truro as a diocese are to this, we are the only diocese in the country who've managed to get Creation Care onto the front page of our website as a direct link. And we just felt it was so important that there shouldn't be obstacles to engaging with Creation Care. So up here on the top left-hand side, you have Creation Care. There's a bit of a glitch here at the moment. If you press it, it may just be that I'm on Apple and so it doesn't like it. If I press it again, it will actually come.
You could explore Creation Care.
There we go. It's come over this way to our front page. So on here, what we've tried to do is make it as clear as possible. You have got become a Creation Care champion here, register for the Kernel Green Church Award here. And if you click, we'll do the Register for Kernel Green Church Award. If you click there, it very simply takes you into a forms document where you can say name of your church, name of your parish, name of your incumbent, who you are, what your role is, your email address, and a contact telephone number. And by submitting this, that will start your process. And from here, you would get a kind of a welcome email from Rosie and the documents that you need to look at a PCC resolution. And I stress that we've written something that's an outline document. We fully expect you to customize and write what makes sense in the right language for your own parish setting. So that takes you into registering there. If you want to become a Creation Care champion, you click on that one. And again, it just walks down here and gathers your details. And then at the bottom here, this is quite important at point 9, where it says, we will in due course be developing an online newsletter. Would you like to receive this in the future? This is the main avenue through which we are going to be sharing updates, both from this meeting and other things going on, our newsletter for Creation Care Champions, etc. You need to have ticked this to receive that, because this deals with all of our GDPR compliance and makes sure that you've said, I want to receive it, rather than we send you something that you don't actually want. Rosie, is there anything else I should highlight on the website at the moment?
Yes, you might just want to go to the top right, to the Creation Care Network, because that's going to be like our page.
Thank you.
And then perhaps you can see there that we've got information about our first meeting. So that will be kept up to date. And also, Ben, if you scroll up and you've got a place where the newsletters is, Creation Care newsletters on the right-hand side, if you want to click that. Last month's Creation Care newsletter is there. And if you're able to go back up where we were, and come out of that, Ben was saying about the newsletter, signing up. There is another place there as well, which goes directly through to the MailChimp. So sorry, Ben, if you go back to the Creation Care Network newsletters.
Oh, sorry, Creation Care Network newsletters, yes.
Yeah, and can you see that there's a strip along there to receive the Creation Care Network newsletter by email? Sign up here. That is also a good place to sign up, because that gets direct through to the diocesan mailings. And if you scroll down, you'll get down to the Creation Care Network, and you can tick that box. And obviously there's other mailings there which you might be interested in anyway. So that's a good one to sign up to, please.
Great, thank you, Rosie. Whilst I'm here on the website, do you have any questions or anything that would be helpful to see in terms of resource?
We're going to be populating where it says find documents. That's going to be populated a bit better. That's a work in progress.
So, and I mentioned earlier on, so we have the energy footprint tool here on the top right, which has some resources in it about how to complete that. And I talked about, I'm going to press on G7 and COP26, because in here we did a series of COP26 daily prayers. There are some video sections, and we also have, although it is not there at the moment, we did a couple of video briefings with some experts, and we'll be doing more of those. But we also have, I'm sorry, I can't find at the moment the Creation Care Toolkit.
Like we are working on that one. Yes. Hopefully we'll have a tab which says Resources Hub there as well, and then we will put it there.
Okay, I'm going to bring this one to a close and come back out and see you all. If that's going to work. Right. So those are kind of the avenues to get signed up. So the Kernel Green Church Award is a tool to get us into Eco Church more than anything else. And a question that was asked earlier on is whether or not the previous Green Church Kernel Award is still alive. The answer is, if you have done all the work for it, what we would encourage you to do is take that work and apply it in parallel to Eco Church, because it does touch all the way across the criteria of Eco Church. And we couldn't map the two together exactly, so we decided that it was easier actually just to direct into the new award. If you feel aggrieved by that in any way at all, you are welcome to submit the work you have done, and we will recognise it under the old scheme pretty much up until Easter, is what we've said, because we need to focus as much energy as we can on driving the newer elements forward. But if you want to submit that because you've done all the work, you're very welcome to, and you can do that via Church House or via email to me or to Rosie, and we can respond to that. Kirsten, I can see your hand is up.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question and make an observation. I just wanted to tell everybody I was in a meeting, I think, with you, Ben, and I got inspired. I went onto the website on another screen. I registered myself as a person and I registered my church. It was really, really very simple. I got lovely information from Rosie very quickly. I then got registered with eRussia. I've done all that and I've started my questionnaire, and I'm kind of working on it. It's work in progress, because some of the questions are quite hard to understand in your own personal in your own particular context. You have to sort of think your way around that. One thing I wanted to ask you is, because I've been involved in things like this with schools and things as well in the dim distant past. I mean, what kind of checking up do you do? I mean, if I was to go through, say, I'm going to give you an example. Yes, in my church, all our light bulbs are LED light bulbs. Actually, they are, because I have looked. But if I just tick that box, is anybody going to come and actually check? I mean, I'm just asking because I'm interested to know this. Are you going to come around? Is there a mechanism for people to come around and actually check that you're telling the truth?
Thank you. So because it's between each church and a Russia, I won't come around and check. If you are particularly stuck and I can make it work, I'll happily come and walk through your church with you to help understand the questions. The rigor effectively is with a Russia. So for some items, they may ask for evidence of that change. So there's evidence for documentation, if you adopt policies, etc. So, and I think I haven't walked through, because they've just done an update. V2, when we looked on the video run through earlier on, is an update that's just happened because the Silver Award has just got a bit harder. Well, more robust, I think is probably the answer. But they used to ask for photographic evidence as well for some items that you would submit as a file alongside things. But
so to watch this space exercise, really, see how you go.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is this. I mean, I'm also the safeguarding person, so I'm used to this business of having to do a parish policy. Okay, and I have to say Truro is very helpful because you do get these model policies, and you can adapt them, but you can also adopt them as they are, because they're usually quite comprehensive. Now, when I've done the safeguarding policy, I get everybody to sign it in the right box and everything. Then I'm supposed to send it up to the person who's in charge of these things, who happens to be Sarah Ackerman. Now, when I'm absolutely adamant at the next PCC meeting, we are going to adopt the model policy. It's work in progress, but we will adopt the model one and then make it better next time. Do I send it to anybody? Do I send it to you, or do I just sit on it in a file? What do I do with it?
Rosie, I'm going to say I don't have an answer to that at this moment, because I'm just trying to remember. Have we discussed that, Rosie?
No, we haven't. No, I think it's a question we need to. I know where Kirsten's coming from, because I used to be in safeguarding. It may be something which we can keep here and have a copy, or but could we perhaps get back to you on that one, Kirsten? It's a really good question.
I can sit on it for as long as you like. The thing is, for you, it's probably quite good, isn't it, to have somewhere a list. You could say, "Oh, they've done it."
Yeah.
No, that would be really helpful. I think certainly when it comes, I think we would want to evidence the awarding. So yes, there would be a need to be a way of gathering that. But well done, you've spotted a gap, and that's great. This is part of the help, is when we actually talk these things to the other people, we find gaps, and we're not pretending to be perfect in any way. And you will all very rapidly recognise that without Rosie, I'd be completely lost. So yes. Christine, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, just as a further comment to what Kirsten just said, out of my personal experience of having worked with Awasha from a theological college perspective, I would really want to encourage everyone who finds that any of the criteria they come across genuinely doesn't make any sense in their own context, to be in touch with them. We have found them amazingly adaptable. This is not just the sort of online tick box exercise. There are actual people sitting behind there who evaluate your responses and also give advice on next steps. And when you come across things that you cannot apply in your context and you can't answer their questions because they don't make sense to you, I would really want to encourage people to get into touch with them. Personally, they have proven quite adaptable when working with us.
Very much so. And there's kind of the avenue that you, as from a parish base, communicate through is one avenue. Then I have an avenue that I communicate through as a diocesan environment officer. And if we ever need a bit of gentle persuasion, they are people who care deeply about what they do. They would see it as the same calling as anyone who's called to ministry or any form of ministry across the whole breadth of our church. So yes, real people with real answers, trying to find solutions. Any other, we're kind of coming into land a bit, but any other questions or things that people
can
would
I
like to address?
just quick one, Ben? Are you going to send us, are you going to email us the Outlook or whatever you were using for your talk? You know, are we going to get it, in other words?
The PowerPoint presentation slides.
PowerPoint, thank you.
Yes, I can happily share those. They are wonderfully simple, like me. So yes.
Just make sure you sign up to the newsletter, because then we will put all that information in the newsletter coming out next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
So they are usable and adaptable, but I will make a plea on behalf of Kelly Rowe, our comms officer, that please do try to leave the layout of the slides intact with the branding in position, because that stuff matters. There we are, I've said it. Thank you. Any other questions, responses, things that you'd love me, or things you'd like us to bring to this when we gather next time? I'll make sure we share something before we gather next time, asking that question again.
Yeah, we meet next time on the 3rd of March.
I saw a hand up, Etienne, go for
it.
No,
I think, will everyone who's here today get a letter, an email, please?
Have you signed up to the...
I signed up to Champion.
Great.
And I know people who signed up to this meeting today, I've got all of your email addresses.
Yeah. So could we all have one? Could we all have a letter, please?
So the info that comes out following up from this?
Yeah.
Yes. So we will share everything we've talked about and any of the items we've looked at.
Yeah.
Perfect. Etienne.
Thank you. I'm sorry for my camera going on and off because I have a bit of a cold, so when I cough, I don't want you to see that. It may have been said whilst I was sitting listening here, but do we have a template, Rosie, for the
policy?
An example of the policy?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is register
and then it will come.
And then I will send it on.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought so.
So there are 3 templates that will come your way when you register.
Yeah.
One is the Parish Creation Care Policy. Again, adapt it as you see fit. One is a role description for creation care champions or teams of, just to try and give us some sense of what it is we're trying to achieve and what we're looking for. And the other one is something we've called the Charter of Care for Creation Care Champions. And it's really our commitment from the diocese as to what we will offer you, how we will support you, we felt it was really important to have something in print that says, we're not just going to leave you to run on your own and say, thanks a lot for doing that, we're off now. It's about working in this together. We really believe in that.
Yeah.
Any other bits and pieces that I can address today? Otherwise I will. Hi, Maggie.
Well, it sort of hit me rather that, you know, I mean, I'm the only person, I think, up in North Cornwall here.
No, I'm there. I'm there, Maggie.
Yes,
Halford.
of course. It's Advent, of course you are. I beg your pardon, but certainly in my far north of Cornwall.
Yes, yes, yes.
A lot of churches north of you.
I know, my love.
And I just wonder, I mean, I feel responsibility I think that's what I'm feeling, to actually share what you've said today with all the certainly the churches in the benefice, of which there are 5, but really in our deanery, because there's nobody from the deanery here. And so they're going to have missed out on number 1.
Okay, so one of the key things we're doing, so I think it's February the 16th is Deanery Synod in Launceston.
Yeah.
I'm speaking there.
Good, yes, that's great.
We are very close neighbours indeed. So I live in Widmouth Bay.
Oh, do you? Right.
I do. So I'm only across the way from you.
Yes.
And in fact, I think I have some St Swithin's timber on the end of my light pole switches from a fundraising thing you did many years ago. So
I organised that.
Wonderful. Well, there you are. They're in my mum's house. They're in my house. You know, we love them.
Lovely.
So there's a fabulous piece of recycling. Good work. So I'm near you and very happy to support you in any way. It would be lovely to have a speaking engagement close to hand.
Yeah.
But yes,
we must get together. You know, that's what what I meant by companionship.
Absolutely.
Maggie and I need to get together.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
And do invite me to speak at your churches. You know, that's something myself and Ellie are both very, very happy to come and speak around creation care within your church settings.
Well, that would be really wonderful. Certainly for a benefice. We have benefice meetings every now and then. And if you came to a benefice, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I did one in Camborne this weekend to a benefice service. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to go down the route of benefice services for you very busy people who are offering to speak. I can't begin to send you an invitation and expect you to come to speak at St Adwenna when you might be speaking just to me, my daughter, and the other church warden because the others have gone on holiday or are coughing or something. You know, I can't begin to do that. I mean, it's just not acceptable use of your time, though lovely people though you
Christine. Okay, thank you, Kirsten. And Helen, I saw your hand up.
I just said that also I have another friend who's, I'm sure you know, Anthony Herowoods, who's always keen to speak.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's both him and his brother are great resources. So I think Anthony's just joined us on the Creation Care group. So which is great news. Thank you.
Yeah.
Friends, I'm going to pause us there for this meeting and encourage you to sign up for the next one in March, which is, Rosie, we're on March the
3rd. It's a Thursday
March
again. So it's always the first Thursday of the month, except for when we come to June and September, but we'll remind you all.
And we will also make sure that as we develop, we're looking at some evening options and some weekend options as well, so that it doesn't crash with the folk that we'd love to draw in who have lives with different shapes. So let's just take a moment, and I'm just going to say, well, in fact, I'll invite, would anybody like to pray for us as we go? Would any of you like to pray for us as we go? It's going to be me then. Righty-ho. Let's just take a moment and think about the goodness of God and his creation and the gift that it is to us. And we ask, Father, that you would give us vision and strength and tenacity, the gift of encouragement to draw others alongside us, the gift to be enthusers who excite others in our church about this essential mission. And we ask that we would see a great uprising and response within our churches toward creation care, towards this business of cherishing creation, of cutting carbon, and of speaking up. And we thank you for your goodness to us. We thank you for this gift of creation, that we live in a place where we are so intimately tied to the daily ebb and flow of the rising seas, of the blowing winds, of the corn that wisps along in the wind. Would you help us be wise and faithful stewards of all that you've given us? And would you help us be leaders in changing how we as the church respond to your very, very good creation? Amen.
Amen.
Well, friends, bless you. It's been great spending time with you, and be in touch, get registered, encourage others to do the same, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Rosie.